Hey and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing my April wrap-up. So the first book I read in April was A Game of Fate by Scarlett St. Clair. This is the Hades POV of A Touch of Darkness. I gave this 5 stars. I honestly kind of liked it better than A Touch of Darkness. I loved seeing what Hades was up to. So yeah, if you don't know what A Touch of Darkness is, it's a Hades and Persephone retelling, and this is the POV of Hades for the first novel. Then immediately after reading that, I picked up A Touch of Ruin, which is the second book in the Touch of Darkness series. So this is continuing on after Touch of Darkness in Persephone's perspective. I gave this book 4 stars. I did not like it as much as A Touch of Darkness. Persephone was a little bit like insecure in this book, which I didn't absolutely love, but I still really like the series, and I've decided that I'm going to wait for Game of Retribution to come out before I read A Touch of Malice, even though I already own it. So yeah. The next book I read in April was The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. This has this guy who is renting out his bed to anyone, basically. So he works night shift, so he's renting out his flat to someone during the day. So as long as they come home after 6 p.m. and are gone by 8 a.m., he's cool because he only sleeps during the day and then they'll only sleep at night, so they never have to see each other, and they start writing sticky notes to each other. And yeah, that's kind of where their like love story takes off from, is these little sticky notes they leave around the apartment because they've never met each other even though they're living in the same flat. It was a cute romance. I gave it 4 stars, and I enjoyed it. It just, I don't know, it wasn't a 5-star read. The next book I read was Dreams of Gods and Monsters by Lonnie Taylor. I've been reading this trilogy for a while, and this book took me a really long time to get through. I don't know why, but I did not enjoy this book as much. I gave it 3 stars. I think that it's just, one, it's YA fantasy, and I'm less interested in that now, but I don't know. It took me a really long time to get through this book. I just like could not get into it. But this is the last book in a trilogy, basically about this girl who finds out that she's essentially like a demon, and she falls in love with an angel, and that's where it starts. But yeah, I gave it 3 stars. The next book that I read was The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. I will say I gave this book 4 stars, and I think it's the best Lucy Foley mystery that I've read by her. I really enjoyed it. So she shows up to stay with her brother, and he's in this apartment in Paris, and she's wondering how he even landed an apartment like this, but he is missing. So she finds a way into the apartment and she starts questioning the neighbors, and it all spirals from there about where's her brother, what happened to him, why can't she find him. I liked this one the best out of any of her mysteries that I've read, so I gave it 4 stars. I did really enjoy this book. Next book I read was Layla by Colleen Hoover. Again, this is one of Colleen Hoover's books that's like not your typical Colleen Hoover book. It has paranormal romance in it, and I was shook. I mean, I only gave it 4 stars. Again, it wasn't like a 5-star read because when you compare this to things like It Ends With Us, it's not comparable out of Colleen Hoover, but I did really enjoy it. And the plot twist, I thought I knew what was happening. I thought I had called it and gotten it correct, and then second plot twist hit you, and I was completely wrong. I really enjoyed this book. It's really good. Basically, this girl, her name is Layla, she meets her boyfriend at her sister's wedding, and they start dating, and then something happens that puts her in the hospital, and she's not the same after that, and so they go back to where they first met to try and rekindle their love, and things start happening that are really weird in the house. So yeah, it was a really good book. I did enjoy it. It's just not like what I want from, I mean, it's not that it's not what I want from a Colleen Hoover book, it's just it didn't live up to the rest of Colleen Hoover's books, but I did really enjoy it, and I liked that it was something different. So yeah. Next I read A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I have a goal to read all of V.E. Schwab's books. I really liked Addie LaRue. I loved the Vicious duology. So I finally got around to picking this one up. I think I gave it 4 stars. I liked this book. I think this was the best with world building. There's basically 4 Londons, and this guy, his name is Kel, he can travel amongst the 4 Londons, and one of these Londons has fallen to magic, like dark magic, and so it's been sealed off from the rest of the world, and some things start to go on involving Black London. I really liked the setup of this series, but I'm going to talk more about the trilogy in this video because I did finish this entire trilogy. but this just not the order that I read them in. The next book I picked up was The Shadows by Alex North. This is kind of like a thriller horror. Basically, this guy, his name is Charlie Crabtree, him and his friend murdered someone 25 years ago. So all of the then, it's a then and now perspective. All of the thens are talking about like how they got to the point where the murders happened, and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of lucid dreaming in these books, and all of the now are a guy who knew Charlie and like knew the victim and wasn't really a part of it. He moved away, came back to town, and he's dealing with it. So it's from his perspective and the perspective of a detective who had a similar murder happen in her town, and she thinks they may be connected because there are copycat murderers. This was really fun, very creepy, but it did take me a while to get through, which is why I gave it 4 stars. It wasn't like a I just couldn't put it down kind of thing, but I did really enjoy it. I thought it was really good, and I definitely plan on picking up the other book that he has written, The Whisper Man, just because I did enjoy this, and every once in a while I love a good like scary book. The next book I picked up, well, okay, I started A Gathering of Shadows before I read these 2 books, but I didn't finish it until afterwards because I had to take a break. But the next book I finished was The Soulmedicate Equation. The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren. I gave this 4 stars. I did really enjoy it. Basically, this girl goes and gives her DNA because they have come up with what's going to be a dating app that matches you to your soulmate by your genes, and she gets matched with one of the founders of this company, and so they're gonna pay her to go on dates with him and basically see like, does it actually work, this science that they're doing. It's kind of like a trial to see like, do they actually have feelings, and that sort of thing. So she's kind of forced into going on dates with him, and he's like grumpy, and she already thinks that he's not like a cool person. She already doesn't like him before this starts, so you got a little bit of enemies to lovers, just a little bit. I read this in one day. I could not put it down. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, Christina Lauren just always does it for me. Then immediately following that, I picked up A Brush with Love by Maisie Eddings. This is a romance where they are in dental school. She's a 4th year, he's a 1st year. They're the same age though. He just didn't immediately go to dental school. He had other things he pursued, and then he kind of gets forced into going to dental school. They bump into each other, literally, and she helps him out a little bit and they become friends. She only wants to be friends, he wants more. It's a lot of that I'm in denial that I have feelings for you kind of thing. I rated this 4 stars. I thought it was really cute. I liked the academia setting, and I really think it did a good job of talking about like mental health and having that in a character in this book, but it was super cute. I did really enjoy it despite teeth. I don't like dental stuff, but it was still really cute. But I will say it's a little bit insta-lovey, which I didn't like. But other than that, I thought it was a good book, and I gave it 4 stars. And after I finished A Brush with Love, I finally finished A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. I thought this was the worst book in the trilogy. This one was incredibly boring. Not much happened. Like, it wasn't good until the end. So yeah, it took me a while to get through this. That's why I read the 2 romance books in between. I think I may have given it 3 stars. I think I gave it 3 stars. But yeah, and so going into the 3rd one, I was like, oh, this isn't going to be any good, because I've heard a lot of people say they hate the ending of these books, but a lot of people love them. And I feel like in this book, they literally only stay in Red London, and there's like flashes of White London, so the fun part of the first book of having 4 different Londons and traveling between them doesn't happen in this book. And it's all about like a magic trial that they're going to. That was probably the more interesting parts of this book, but yeah, it took me a while to get through this one. Finally, I finished off with A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. This, I think, was the best book in the series, and I liked book 1. I still gave it 4 stars though, because it was a little slow at first, but lots of action. And I know people get mad because the rules seem to not apply to Layla. Like, all of the world building just goes out the window on how the magic system works when it comes to her. But I really love her character. I love Kel. And I love the side relationship that happens. I'm not going to say who it is because that will spoil it. But that was really cute and I enjoyed it. A lot of people die in this book though, so forewarning. But I thought this was the best one. I liked the way it ended. I thought it ended on like a good note, and it was like kind of a good thing. Like, all the characters got what they needed at the end of this, and so I did really enjoy the series, but the 2nd book just put me through it. I also want to give an honorable mention because it is April 30th as I'm filming this, and I started Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard last night, so there's a good chance that I will finish this book before tonight, which means it will still be on like books I've read in April. I just won't be able to tell you what I rated it, but there's a possibility that I'll finish this today. If I don't, you'll see it in my May wrap up. But yeah, that's what I'm currently reading, and I'm about to like sit down and read for hours because I have nothing better to do, so I might finish this, and I want to finish this so I can get on to some Tessa Bailey that I recently bought. Hey, it's me recording this on April 30th at 10:26, and I can confirm that I did finish Red Queen, and I gave it 3 stars, and honestly at this point I'm not sure if I'm gonna continue to read any more of this series. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm gonna sit on it a couple days and try and decide. It was just a little bit like boring. So yeah, I did finish Red Queen and I did rate it 3 stars. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.